and welcome to our second QPR Preview Show. If you missed it last week, we chat about the week that was and the week to come for QPR, and there's some stats on screen for you to have a look at. We're going to start by having a quick look back at the two matches we've had this week before we look ahead to the matches with Sunderland and Blackpool. I expected two defeats on last week's preview show, but we did get a very important win against Middlesbrough to give the fans and players a boost, only for a really drab match in the cup to somewhat bring us back down to earth. Looking back at Middlesbrough match first, it was a vital win for our confidence. If we'd let that 3-0 lead slip on the back of the run at the end of last season, I fear for what it may have done to us for the confidence of the team. But to just get over the line, it was just a big win. I don't know how we always seem to end up hanging on. Even when we're 3-0 up, we still seem to make it a tight match. We've done it a few times in the last couple of years. Dave, your views on the Middlesbrough win first?
Yeah, it was similar to a game Warburton had at the start of his reign when we were 3-up against Luton and you thought, oh my God, we're going to win about 8-0 here. And then by 10 minutes later, we're hanging on for dear life. And it was kind of the same Saturday. You know, having Willock back obviously was a massive boost, and he made the difference, really. Him and Amos being there. We spoke last week about the midfield being a bit pedestrian and a completely different team with them two in there.
Yeah,
it was much better. But I think the win was a big one for them to get through there, because Middlesbrough really should have got level. They were all over us second half. But they got through it in the end, and you'd have thought that'd give them a bit of a boost, but then Charlton happened, obviously.
Yeah, Willock, I know it seems simple. We've said it in the middle of the pre-season podcast and stuff, but it seems simple for us to say he makes such a difference, but that match just really showed it. The difference between the first half there and the first half at Blackburn and the first half that, again, we've seen now against Charlton, which we'll go on to in a second. It's an unbelievable difference. It's getting towards Abere Eze levels of how good we are with and without him. It's almost getting to the point where you could argue we're not going to be able to challenge without him. And if he's struggling with injuries and stuff, as we'll come on to, it's not good for us. Charlton, an unbelievably dull affair, lit up by two late goals. But for the second year in a row, we were knocked out by a League One side on penalties. The stats show it was an even match, but can we have any complaints, Dave, that our cup run is over?
No, I went last night. It was first half was so boring. We were just sitting there chatting. We just weren't even watching it after a while. We just the way we played, there was no movement at all up front. Dickey was getting on the ball. He's looking for a forward pass. No one's moving, so it'd be back to Dieng, done. It was like last season, towards the end of last season. It was dull to watch. Got a lot better when Roberts and Armstrong come on, added a bit of excitement. When they went 1-up, the game was won, really. They should have pushed on and tried to get a second. Charlton were all over the place. But they faffed around for about 5 minutes, just wasting time, not trying to score a second. And, you're 1-0 up, you leave yourself open. So the team might get a corner, a free kick or something, and that's what they did. And then obviously the penalties was disappointing, but, it happens on penalties, didn't it? We were a bit lucky this time last year against Orient in a similar game, and this time it was the upside of it.
Yeah, exactly. We did sneak through last year somewhat, didn't we? I just don't understand, as we'll probably come on to again when we look at QPR against Sunderland, I don't understand how we can be such a different team. How can we spoke about it last week, the intensity needed to improve from the Blackburn match, and we got it against Middlesbrough. But then against Charlton, just take a few players out and we seem so flat, and it's almost like the team themselves don't believe in themselves if they're missing the key players like Willock and Amos and stuff. It's very strange.
It was such an opportunity for a few of them last night as well, like Thomas and Dizelle. This is their chance to, get in the team. This was their game, and they didn't really take it at all. It was really disappointing.
Yeah, they're not going to get another match now. Some of them, like Shadipo, Drew, they're not going to probably get another chance. And probably won't even be on the bench for some of the league games. It like you say, massive missed opportunity for them, and that's why it doesn't make sense to me that they were so flat in the first half. Just no zip in the play. I don't know. If I went out there, I feel like I could run about and show a bit of like intensity and come on, let's go. And there was just none of that at all. It baffles me at times. But
the difference when Armstrong come on and he just ran at someone, it was like, oh, hang on, we're allowed to do that, are we?
Exactly, it's simple, isn't it?
We scored like pretty much straight away after that. It's like, well, why weren't they doing that earlier?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Maybe we just make it too simple, but it seems simple to us. Two matches to look ahead to this week. We've got Sunderland and Blackpool. Sunderland, talking of penalty losses, of course, it was them who knocked us out of the League Cup last season. They're newly promoted after 4 seasons in League One. Alex Neil's done a superb job there since he went in February. Only lost 1 match. They're actually unbeaten in 18 league games. From a QPR perspective, we actually lost 5 in a row to Sunderland between 2005 and 2012. But we've only lost 2 of the last 8, and one of them was the one on penalties last season. So we've improved recently against them. Who do you see as the key men in their side, Dave?
Well, I was quite impressed with them last year when they played us at Argaff. The 2 forwards look pretty good. Is it Sims they got from Everton on loan?
Yeah.
He's scored a couple already. That Patrick Roberts they've bought, he's always been like one of them that you think he's going to go on and do something special, but he kind of hasn't yet. But this is a good chance for him if he gets going there. So them 2 kind of stand out. Alex Pritchard as well. He's always someone we've always been linked with. He's always decent. But they look a decent side. It's a tough game for us.
Yeah, Sims, I've got a couple of Everton fans in the family, as we've discussed before, but they've said that they're surprised Everton have sent him out on loan because he looked good for their youth teams, and they haven't got any strikers, obviously, at the moment. Everton, they have so many injuries, so he's obviously highly rated there, and he started well at Sunderland. And they've obviously got Ross Stewart, who's scored bagfuls of goals last season.
Yeah.
I think we'll do well to keep them out. They're obviously going to be confident. Like I say, 18 league games back to February, the last time they lost in the league. It's going to be a tough trip. Could be 30-degree heat as well. If we're staying in a hotel and the players are maybe a bit lethargic, could catch us this match. I agree with you as well on Pritchard, because we've been linked with him in the past. I think it's inevitable he has a good game against us as well. You can see the posts already. People saying we should have signed him. Is it an advantage that we played a night earlier? Because obviously in the Cup on Wednesday night rather than Tuesday night.
Maybe, potentially, but there was a difficult. It's always difficult, I think, to play a promoted team at the start of the season because they've got their momentum from last year. You're better off playing them. You want to play them a bit later when they've had a few knocks. But then Sunderland are they're not a League One team coming up, really, are they? They've been a Premier League team and a Championship team for decades. It's going to be a tough, big game for us. We'll do well to get anything there.
Yeah, like you alluded to before, they were brilliant in that cup match last season for parts of the match, and I thought they were going to go on and win the league last season. I was surprised they ended up in the playoffs, but they're here now, and they do look like they're going to be the team who have absolutely no problems this season in terms of survival. For QPR, I was going to say then we know that Willock and Amos are now out, along with Powell and Richards and Clark-Salter. Seen a couple of messages on our forum that people say maybe Beale's playing mind games and is he trying to make Sunderland think they're out and then suddenly they'll be playing, but I think they probably are out. How do you expect us to line up given there could be some big absentees this weekend?
Well, if it's, like you said, if it is the same 18, you'd probably expect Johansson and Dykes to come back in. Maybe Tyler Roberts if he's fully fit to start the game. Other than that, you can't really see what other changes they can make with those players out. They can't, got no one else to play fullback if they really. Clark-Salter's out, so you assume it'd be Dunn and Dickey at the back. He's limited with his options. It doesn't look great, does it? Let's be honest.
No. It's like we discussed last week. You think, we're going to make changes, but then there's only so many you can really make. But Amos and Willock have been massive losses. The one positive, though, from last night was that Roberts looked like he was a class above, didn't he? From the minute he came on, he would look like he had an extra minute on the ball compared to everyone else. He was just absolutely superb, I thought. That was only a small cameo, but he did look very, very good against the League One side. I think he can obviously replace Willock, and it's maybe what Warburton was hoping to do last season in January. He said he wanted another number 10, didn't he? And obviously when we miss Willock, hopefully Roberts can step up, because as we saw against Charlton, Chair, he's just a shadow of the player he can be when he's on his own. I don't know whether teams have just found him out and just crowd him out of the game. He needs someone else there to create space for him, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was really disappointed with him last night. He just kept making the wrong option on the ball and just didn't look anything like as good as he can be. But his pressure's going to be on him weekend without Willock. Yeah.
I think Dazelle probably going to keep his place in midfield as well, because if Amos and Richards are both out, we haven't got that many other options unless he suddenly brings in Owens from the cold. But Dazelle, I've stood up for him numerous times on the podcast in the past, and I really thought he was going to kick on this season. It doesn't feel like he is. He's just too safe, isn't he, on the ball? And I don't know. There is a player in there, but
he's got that forward pass in him. He did a couple last night, but like you say, he's far too safe on the ball. He's probably, I'm sure if you looked at his numbers, he hardly ever gives the ball away, but he's passing to someone 2 yards away. So we're not really doing anything with it. He's got it in him, but, he needs to start showing it soon, I think.
Yeah, he needs to move off the ball though as well, doesn't he? Like he doesn't. He always seems to be in the same areas of the pitch. If you looked at his heat map, surely one of the coaches would be saying to him, "Look, you're basically just a circle of heat. Like you need to be moving around the pitch a bit more." Hopefully, he'll keep working on it. But at the moment, he doesn't seem to have progressed in the way that we hoped he would. Your final thoughts on the Sunderland match, then, given our thoughts on our team?
Yeah, it's difficult. I can't see us getting much up there. I'm going up there weekend somehow with the train strike to try and make it up there. But I'm not expecting Sunderland. On paper, Sunderland should win. You never know with QPR. They sometimes pull a result out when you least expect it, but I'd be very surprised if they get anything there.
Yeah, we got some good early away results at the start of last season. It seemed to set us up well, doesn't it? If you can get that away win, it means the away crowds follow you then to the next matches, don't they? And it really, really helps. But obviously, after what Blackburn was like away and then what Charlton was like away, I haven't got too much hope for this one. But like you just said, we could turn up and only takes a player or two and a good start, and we're flying, aren't we? We're just such a strange team at the moment. We go from looking at the best team in the league to the worst team in the league with the click of your fingers. I'd probably say I'd take a draw now if you offered it to me. But if we can get 3 points, it'd be awesome. Blackpool, midweek match. It's on Sky, so there's a curse of Sky lingering over us there. But we have got an amazing record against Blackpool, and I looked into it. We've only ever lost 4 games against Blackpool, and 2 of them were in the 70s. One of them was in the League Cup under McLaren in 2018. So we're actually 9 league games without defeat. Last league defeat to them was 15 years ago. And we haven't lost to Blackpool at Loftus Road for 50 years. So hopefully we can keep those stats going. They've had a bit of a strange situation with their manager, haven't they? Our manager, Michael Beale, comes in from Aston Villa and their manager goes to replace him as assistant. Strange. Your thoughts on that and the Blackpool team?
Yeah, it was an odd move for him because they were seemed like quite a promising team on the up last year. And then to make the move to be an assistant, I didn't really understand that. But, they're one of those sides that you kind of expect to be like when you look at some of the bigger teams in the league, you're probably not going to get results against them. So it's important to try and get a few wins on the board early. And that looks like a winnable game to me.
Yeah. They lost obviously in the League Cup they lost on penalties 2 against Barrow, but I had a look and they didn't have a shot on target last week against Stoke. They didn't score against Barrow. They're having lots of shots, but not well. The crowd get into it. If we have a poor start and it gets a bit like even Charlton, there's a good atmosphere, but you can tell the crowd they just know how we're playing and they feed off it, don't they?
Yeah. The crowd they only really the atmosphere was good all game, but it only really livened up when the subs come on. So it's like, we might actually do something now. Yeah,
he said it himself, hasn't he? Michael Beale. He said the crowd they need us to give them something to cheer about, and hopefully, like I say, midweek match we can get over the line against Blackpool. No doubt Josh Bowler will come back and haunt us. He's probably there the last 12 months or so. Can't really speculate on the QPR team, but would you have us down for a win?
Yeah, I think that's one we should win. I'm reasonably confident we'll get a result in that one.
Yeah, I think he's got to look at these 2 matches as a group, and if we can get 4 points from 6, he'd be over the moon, wouldn't he? Very good. Don't lose. 3 points, I guess, would be okay. Anything less, and we'll be having a very different mood on here this time next week when we're doing the next show.
A miserable podcast next week.
Yeah. Hopefully we have better team news as well, with obviously a few people out injured at the moment already. I have a suspicion we're going to be sat here next week saying, what we're going to do now without X, Y, and Z as well. And as we've seen from the cup match, we're not exactly blessed with massively good options, are we? So thanks for watching. Join us again next week for more QPR stats, QPR chat, and we'll be looking ahead to the clash with Rotherham. In the meantime, get on our message board and share your views. Come on, you R's.
We know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.